Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my garden. I'm really happy to have you here with me today where we are going to do probably the biggest harvest on the garden so far for 2024. We went away for 5 days last week, and when we came back there was a ton of stuff that needed to be harvested out of the garden. However, we also picked up 400 pounds of tomatoes while we were away, and those also needed to be processed as soon as we got back. So the tomatoes took precedence. We got all of those put into jars. If you'd like to see that video, I'll link it up here. And now I need to take care of all of the stuff in the garden. So we are going to do a huge harvest today. And I don't just mean huge as far as the quantity of food that we're going to harvest today, but also the size of it. Check this out. So these zucchinis are just absolutely enormous, and I should have picked them. I should have at least just pulled them off, even if I didn't have time to bring them in the house. So they stopped growing when we got back, but I didn't. And so now they're even bigger than they were the last time I showed you. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So we also have our last picking of pickling cucumbers. That's what's in this row here. And I'm sure there's some monster pickling cucumbers in here as well. We have tons of tomatoes to pick. We have green beans to pick, just tons of stuff. One of the other things that I really need to get to that I have been meaning to do over the last 2 weeks is to get all of my garlic that we picked, I don't know, probably 4 weeks ago now, that's now all well cured, cleaned up, and brought into the house. I don't know if we're gonna get to that today, but right now let's head down to the high tunnel and we'll start with the tomatoes, because I do know I have a bunch of tomatoes to get picked. It's so interesting because I was sure that this year was going to be a terrible year for the high tunnel. It started out super cold. My tomato plants were definitely struggling when I put them in here, but it has turned out to potentially be my best tomato year yet. The amount of tomatoes on these plants is just so fantastic, and they are just beautiful sizes too. It is challenging to get really good sized tomatoes up here with our short growing season, but this year I've had no issues at all. I'm just gonna run over here and turn off my water because I was watering everything this morning. One of the other things that I need to get to this week is get the turkeys processed because they are getting humongous. Hey Archie, how's it going? Hi Ivy, are you coming to say hi too? Hello old girl, how are you? Okay, so I have a story about this little cow here. So remember, I don't know when it was, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I had a red steer get into my garden and eat some cabbages. And I shared with you that I don't know what it is about red cows in particular, but they are menaces on a farm. There were so many people that left comments about how red cows had been menaces in their farms as well. So funny thing is I never really thought of that little calf as red, although she is obviously red. But needless to say, last week she got stuck in a fence panel down in one of our lower fields, and we heard her mama making a bunch of noise. So we went down and checked it out, and she was stuck. We got her out, and that was that. I didn't really think anything of it again. So I think it was maybe 5 or 6 days later, that very same cow had her head stuck in the exact same spot in the fence again. So needless to say, we took that part of the fence down so that she couldn't do it again, but only the red cow. I don't know what it is. It's a thing though, for real. Okay, the other thing that I need to pick here is these northern melons here. Oh, I'm so excited about these, but they are delicious. They taste like a combination between a cantaloupe, which is sort of what they look like, and a honeydew melon. They're really, really, really good. And the way that you tell they're ripe is they start turning color like this, and then they pull off the vine really, really easily. So far we've just been eating these melons because they are so delicious, and my kids really like melons. But my plan is, if we end up with too many to eat, is to, oh, whoops. Now that's interesting. This one looks quite different. I wonder if I accidentally planted a different variety in here. I have heard that these northern melons all look a little bit different, so we'll see how this one tastes, but it just pulled right off the vine even though it's not looking quite ripe yet. Yeah, there's definitely some different looking ones in here. 2 more. So I have a couple of actual cantaloupes here and a honeydew over there. Let's get into getting these tomatoes picked. I do want to water these, so I'm actually going to pull off everything that is starting to get serious about ripening, because if I don't and I water these, they're probably going to crack. I normally like to leave my tomatoes on the vine until they are ripe. I just personally think they taste best that way, but I don't want to lose a whole bunch to cracking. So what happens when you water your plant, of course, is the fruit itself gets some water and will expand a little bit. And if you end up doing it a really, really deep water, especially after it's been a little bit dry, which it has been here, then it can expand too quickly for the skin to keep up, and then you end up with them cracking. And it's fine, you can still use them. Not best to use for canning just because it opens up a space for bacteria to get in there, but you can use them for making fresh sauce and things like that, no problem. Definitely so pleased with my tomatoes this year. So the reason why we buy so many tomatoes, because we usually buy 400 to 500 pounds of tomatoes every year, is just because in this one high tunnel, we can't grow enough to make enough tomato products to last us a whole 12 months, which is normally what we like to do. So these tomatoes we tend to turn into the fancier products that I like to make. So with the farm bought ones, we usually just make stewed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, simple tomato sauce and things like that. Whereas with these tomatoes, we'll make like enchilada sauce, we'll make pizza sauce, anything that we want to have really awesome flavor. This has never happened before, but last year I ended up making enough salsa to last us 2 years. So we still have 45, well, I guess it would probably be around 55 because I made some peach salsa this year, quarts of salsa. So I may make maybe 10 more or something like that, but I don't have to do a ton, which is kind of nice because salsa is a little bit of a time-consuming endeavor with all that chopping. Look at all these tomatoes. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna need to get another bin because this one is full. Oh my goodness, friends, just wait till you see the amount of tomatoes I just pulled out of this high tunnel. Look at that, all those tomatoes. And these tomatoes, I got a couple of cucumbers too, and then those are the melons. So I think what we'll do now is go down and get the green beans because they're light, and then we can take all this up to the house, come back down for round 2. Green beans are definitely looking like they're at the end of the road, but I think I can pull another harvest out of here. Something else that I need to pick today is some of my onions, because I'll show you. We have some of them that are splitting. So this isn't a big deal for me because I am just planning on chopping these and freeze drying them. I did that last year and it was just fantastic. So what I'm looking for is any that are starting to split like that. I know I got sidetracked here, but if I don't pick these right now, I may forget. But we'll see how much we end up with by the end of harvesting all the other things that absolutely must be picked. And if we have enough time, then we'll pick these, because as far as preserving goes, it's pretty easy. I just have to dice them and put them into the freeze dryer. So we'll see. But I do want to get the ones that are splitting though. They are starting to flop over too, which is a sign they're ready. I definitely should not have waited so long to pick these. Just pull the whole plant out and pull the beans off. I have some choke cherries that I need to pick today. This is going to be the first time that I am going to be able to harvest enough to make some choke cherry jelly, which I've heard is really good. I planted this choke cherry that we're going to pick, I want to say 5 years ago, and it's been producing for the last couple of years, but not enough to do anything but leave for the birds. So this year is going to be the year, which is very exciting. The other thing we may be harvesting today is my sea buckthorn. Also the first time since I planted it 6 years ago that it's actually producing. That's not really the fault of the plant, that was my fault. You need a male and a female sea buckthorn in order to get fruit. And the second year, or maybe the third year, my male died. And so I needed to plant another one. So it took time for that to mature to the point where it could actually pollinate the females. But it did a bang up job this year and we have tons of them. I'm just not entirely sure at what point of ripeness to pick them. So when I go up in the house and bring all this stuff in, I will look it up and see. I'll show you on the way up to the house what they look like where they're at right now. They look pretty ripe to me and I actually love the flavor. They are very, very sour, but the flavor of them is absolutely delicious. So I bought myself a steam juicer last week that I haven't tried yet, that I'm going to use to make juice with it. And it is supposed to be one of the highest in vitamin C berries that exist and full of really good antioxidants. So I want to use it during the winter time when we're not getting as many fresh fruits and vegetables in our diet. Because we do live in the north, so even the stuff, even though we can buy kind of fresh fruit from the grocery store and vegetables from the grocery store, it's of course anything but fresh by the time it reaches us. So I like to do things, oh, that one's molding. So I like to increase the amount of vitamins that we get in our diet in the wintertime, if I can. Okay, so this is gonna take me a bit. So I'll be back with you when these are all picked, show you what we ended up with, and then we'll head up to the house and I'll show you the sea buckthorn, the choke cherries, and we also have a ton of apples to pick that are ready. 3 of my apple trees I think are ready to pick. The forest garden, which is my permaculture food forest, which I'll show you too if you haven't seen it before. I planted, I want to say it's 6 years ago, but it might be 7 years ago. And this year it is producing like gangbusters. So exciting. We got one nice bin of beans here, so that's fantastic. So this is my sea buckthorn here, and you can see all the orange berries on it. So this is what they're looking like at this point, and I feel like they're pretty ripe. They're very soft, so I think we'll definitely pick these. They are so good. Woo! Sour. And they do have a seed in them, which is why it's recommended to juice them rather than eat them, because the seed is pretty big. But I love the flavor. It's so good. And I had never had sea buckthorn before this year. I'd never tasted them before, and I'm really happy to say that I think they're delicious. So this we have to pick. And what I've heard a lot of people do in areas where this grows wild and prolifically is they actually just cut the branch off, throw the branch in the freezer, and then the berries come off very easily. But I don't want to do that because that would be cutting this plant down to pretty much nothing. So I'm not sure because they're pretty hard to pick without squishing them, but I guess squishing them doesn't really matter since we're just going to juice them anyway. And they also have these thorns on them, which are pretty sharp. So just have to be careful, I guess. And then over there is our choke cherry with those beautiful black choke cherries on it. And they are perfectly ripe and easy to pick. So that's exciting. And then of course we have apples. We have been eating lots of apples off this tree because these apples are absolutely scrumptious. And look at how beautiful they are. So good. And then we have this little tree here that we need to pick and a ton of windfalls off the ground that we need to pick up. And these ones aren't going to be ready till a little bit later in the fall. Oh my goodness, I completely forgot I had this little apple tree that I planted 2 years ago. And it is just loaded with apples as well, which is very exciting. But I wasn't kidding when I said that we have a really big harvest day today. My family's going to come out later and actually pick all the apples with me. And I'll show you how much we ended up with when we're done. So the kids went down and got all the apples picked. It took them like 10 minutes to get all those apples picked. And I think we got 3 boxes, but I'll show you when we go back up to the house. And Dan is going to come down right now and help me pick the rest of all the things that we need to pick in the garden, of which there is a lot. Oh, I forgot to show you that I figured out the culprit that had knocked over all of those sunflowers. So remember, I don't know, it was like 4 days ago or something. A ton of my sunflowers all fell down at once. So a lot of people wondered if it was voles, if it was squirrels or some other kind of animal. It was not an animal. What it actually was a fungus. Can you see this white fungus that's there? So it is a type of fungus that is in a lot of soil, but in high moisture situations, it can attack the bottom of the sunflower, like you can see there, and then it weakens it. And then if there's even just a tiny bit of wind, it breaks it off. So fortunately, it's not on every single one of my sunflowers, but it definitely got a few of them. So I think what I'm actually going to do is take these tomatoes, put them in there, because I'm not that worried about them getting a bit squished, because they're just going to get washed and cut up and put right into my roaster oven to start cooking down into some kind of sauce. I haven't decided what I'm going to make yet. And then we can fill this one up with the pickling cucumbers and the zucchinis, because I'm sure it's going to absolutely overflow this cart. And I'll also get Dan to help me take these up to the house, because I have a feeling these are going to be pretty heavy by the time we are done. What's kind of sad is that I actually can't eat very many raw tomatoes. I can have a few like cherry type tomatoes, but I end up getting sores in my mouth if I eat too many raw tomatoes. I can eat them cooked, no problem. Whoops. But sadly, a couple of years ago, this started happening. I think it was about 3 years ago. Hi, Boba. It started happening where it messed up the pH in my mouth, I guess. But I'm really grateful that I can still eat them cooked. Okay, these melons smell so good. Oh my goodness. Okay, Dan should be down here any second. You know what? I have a knife in here somewhere. I'm going to cut off all these tops before we bring them up to the house. So this year, I'm not even going to bother curing my onions. I'm just going to chop them and freeze dry them, because it's so handy not to have to chop when I'm wanting to use onions in a recipe. These tops you could absolutely chop up and freeze dry, dehydrate, freeze, whatever you want. But I have more than enough to do right now, so I'm not gonna worry about that. Definitely should have picked these onions a couple days ago. Dad, you should see all this produce. Look at all the tomatoes. I know. Yeah, so this is what happens when you leave zucchinis out way too long. So
does the quality go down?
Yeah, so they just get super seedy and a little bit watery in the middle, so you just scoop those out. Scoop the seeds out. Yeah, this is a lot of zucchini flesh to deal with. So I have actually stored zucchini in my cold room for months and months without an issue. Yep, just give them a twist.
Oh.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this will be the last of the zucchinis for the year. which is probably good because they're sure pretty though, hey? There's a couple more over here. Oh my goodness, I have never seen such a gigantic zucchini. Look at this one. Oh my gosh. Look at that zucchini. Holy cow. These ones are called Romanesca and they are enormous. We can just put these all in this. I don't know if they're gonna all fit in here. But it's mostly all showy vines and not a ton of squash. Well, I mean, there are, but they're just really, really tiny. But this one.
It's being so hot, like, is it better just to leave them?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave them and see what happens. But we have, these are my new favorite summer squash. So everyone has told me that to pick these a lot smaller than this so they're more tender, but I picked them around this size for that chicken casserole that I made the other day and they were really good. So I don't think I have a choice but to pick them too big right now because I think this small is what they were saying. Like this tiny, right? This is what you guys were saying that I should pick them at. So I will pick a bunch of these and do a little compare. This is one that I grew once, but it didn't do very, very well at all. So I just decided not to grow it again. And then somebody sent me some seeds and this is what I got. This is all one plant right here. And I've already done a ton of harvesting off this. Guess I'm gonna make another casserole. I bet you that I will, at the end of the season, have gotten probably like 50 or 60 squash off of this one plant. I also wonder too, because the squash on this side are a little bit shaded by the shop. So, because the ones over there are doing a lot better. Oh my goodness. And there's probably like 10 more on there on that one plant. Crazy. What do we do with all those? See what I mean when I said we had a lot of food in the garden? Oh my gosh, are we able to like put this on top? No? I guess we'll come back down and grab this one. It doesn't, it's really sturdy. Okay. Okay, so I have decided to pull all the onions out because when I came up and checked this row, they're starting to split here too. So I may as well get them out. No, just pull them all because they're starting to split. So I'd rather just get them out and preserved. Make a bunch of French onion soup too. I like these Patterson onions. These ones are Patterson and I really like them. Nice, just uniform size. Okay, so now that I'm seeing exactly how many onions are here, which is a lot of onions, and thinking about all the other preserving that I have to do inside right now, I think I'm gonna make this easy on myself and just go collect all the garlic from in the greenhouse And my little greenhouse is where I cure my garlic and my onions. And then just lay all these out, and then I'll deal with them in a few days because it's not going to hurt them to be laying in there. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Oh my gosh. This is what happens when you go away for a week in the middle of gardening season. Okay.
Problems you like having?
This is a problem I don't mind having. So you wanted to go up and do the stairs on the bunkie and get the...
I have some planning too. I have some things we need to get.
Okay. I want to go do that, and then I'll just kind of finish up down here.
Do you want help taking this up right now? Or no?
I'm actually going to bring this into the greenhouse. So if you wouldn't mind helping me get it into there, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay. I got that wagon at Princess Auto probably 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been run over with the tractor.
It has been run over.
Straightened out.
It was. That's funny. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's been amazing. Okay, so my little greenhouse right now is a mess. It is an absolute mess. I have my bug netting in here. I have my frost blankets here, which I'm leaving there so that I can pull them out to cover up the squash if we get frost, which we will. We're actually late for frost this year, which I'm not complaining about at all. But we also have all of our garlic in here. So I think what we'll do is get all this garlic brought up to the house, and I'll deal with that. Because the thing is, I can just cut the tops and the bottoms and just clean these off and put those down in the cold room and also deal with those later. My plan for these is similar to my plan for the onions, and that's to food process them and freeze dry them. And it just cuts out my work in the wintertime a little bit more, as far as just processing time when I'm going to go make meals. I like to have everything really convenient and ready to go. So that's the plan with the garlic. So I think that's what I'll do. Then we'll pull all the onions, put the onions in here, and continue on with the harvest, which still is quite a bit that we need left to pick, because I need to get the rest of these onions over here picked, and then the choke cherries and the sea buckthorn. So there's quite a lot left to do, but this is hard work, but it is very, very satisfying, and I cannot wait to see what we end up once we're all finished. I think we're going to try to do a rough weight estimate on all of this produce and see how many pounds of produce that we ended up picking today. Oh, thank goodness it is a little bit shady here. Oh, thank goodness we have a little bit of shade. So we're going to be picking all these. I'm not going to have a ton, but I should have enough to, whoops, broke the branch, to be able to do a batch of jelly. My hands are going to be very purple. All right. Not a bad bowl of choke cherries. That's exciting. I am absolutely roasting now at this point. So I think what I'm going to do is wander down here and show you. We got all the onions all picked, and the garlic is all up at the house, and we have all the onions all laid out in here. So generally you want to cure your onions in a place out of direct sunlight. Because I have the greenhouse film, which is UV protectant on the inside, and then we have this stuff on the outside, it's been working really well. I tried curing my onions in here 3 years ago, and it just worked perfectly. And so I've been curing my garlic and my onions in here ever since. So I'm going to leave these onions in here until I have a window of opportunity to process them. What I've been doing in previous years is curing my onions and then putting them down in my cold room. But I really love that. Like I said, I really love having the convenience of having them all prepared. So now, oh shoot, we have one more thing that we need to harvest. And this is one that we just can't leave. What I might do then is leave the sea buckthorn, pick those tomorrow, but get these pickling cucumbers picked now. And then we'll call it a day in the garden, and I'll take you up to the house and show you the overall haul, and we'll do an estimate on the amount of pounds that we ended up getting. But let's just take a quick peek in here and see what we got. Lots of over mature ones for sure, but we still have quite a few in here that we can use, like these ones. So these really big ones, these are going to go to my chickens because they absolutely love them. And all the smaller ones we'll bring up to the house and make something with. Definitely not pickles because we have so many pickles in the pantry now. This has been an incredible year in the garden. Just amazing the amount of food that has come out of this garden. Definite slowdown on production. That's for sure, which is a good thing because we have so many. Okay, one side picked. Now to the other side. I did accidentally plant some of the melons outside here, you can see, and they're actually growing. So I think I could probably plant them underneath row covers outside and instead of in the high tunnel for next year. So that's exciting because I want to plant a huge row of them. Okay, so that wasn't too bad actually. That wasn't as many as I thought it was going to be, which I have to admit to being slightly relieved about. So now we're going to take this up to the house and I'll show you how much we ended up with altogether. Okay, so this is approximately, we think, between 500 and 600 pounds. That's just a rough estimate, including the onions that are out in the greenhouse. And I am just thrilled with the amount of produce here. So what we're gonna do over the next couple of days is turn all of this food into preserves. We're gonna freeze dry, we're gonna can, all the things. I will definitely be sharing with you the preserving of all of this food in the next couple of videos. I think it is gonna take me a few days to get through all of this produce, but I hope you enjoyed coming along with me in the garden to pick all of this today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye everyone.